You are looking at Northbridge general partner Jim Moran. He is an Apple bear, but we're joined for a little bull bear debate with Tom's Guide and Laptop Magazine editor-in-chief Mark Spoonauer and Barron senior editor Jack Hough. Okay, I will start with you, Mark, because you are the bull here. What do you think they'll do after the market? We've just got less over an hour to go before we see those numbers.
I do think that they're going to beat estimates on iPhone sales, and everyone's keeping an eye on that. We're thinking about 50 million or so.
Isn't that the estimate? Top of the estimate?
Yeah, so I think they'll probably be around that mark, and I think it's pretty impressive given the fact that the phone's been out for a while and that there's a new one coming in the fall. So if they can continue that momentum heading into the iPhone 6S or whatever they wind up calling it, and they're able to continue growth in China, I think that they have a lot to cheer for.
Jim, why are you a bear when the whole world seems to be bullish? We like that, by the way.
Hey,
we
Liz.
do like contrarian opportunities here.
Sure. Well, hey, let me just say, I'm a bear on some things. Overall, I'm an Apple fan on a number of fronts. But you know, look, this is an iconic brand, and they've done an amazing job innovating over the years. No question about it, with a cult following. But I think one of the things that they've been incredibly successful doing is disrupting industries and business models of entrenched players. I mean, you know, Steve Jobs convinced the music industry to start selling music at 99 cents versus $15 an album. He also went to AT&T Wireless and convinced them to go with an all-you-can-eat plan.
Okay, so we know they're disruptors, though, Jim, but where is the bearish sentiment coming from? Tell us what you don't like about Apple.
Well, I think that there are fast followers, and consumers have lots of choices today for some of these new products. For instance, the watch. I think the Apple Watch is really interesting. I don't own one because there's nothing really yet about that watch that has been compelling for me as a consumer to buy. And it's a crowded field. You got devices like Fitbit and all the others. Now, I think that health monitoring category is going to be really exciting. There's going to be a lot of winners there, but I wouldn't just cede that over to Apple.
Okay.
Why? That's my feeling on it.
Oh, look, I've got a blue one. How about that?
I like it.
I just stole it off Mark's wrist.
I think with the Apple Watch, I mean, I think it is very...
What are the numbers?
It's very
1.3
early
million?
days.
What do you think?
Well, one analyst has it at about 4.3 million, and I think it is early days for this industry, and they are a little bit late to the market, but that number actually trumps all the other players combined, so that's pretty good for being a fast follower. I think part of the problem with the Apple Watch is a lack of focus. It's pretty good at fitness, it's pretty good at certain things like apps, and Siri is nice, but I think it almost does too much.
I'm going to pull a Donald Trump and give your telephone number out. Right here. Jack, should we be as obsessed with Apple as so many people appear to be?
Yes, you should. It's the biggest company in America. Of course you should. The watch, by the way, doesn't matter. Only the phone matters. Apple will beat earnings. It will disappoint on guidance for the coming quarter. And the reason is because China's economy might take a hit from the sharp stock sell-off there. It's not a giant wealth effect in China because stock ownership isn't as broad here in the U.S., but it could hurt their numbers at the margins in the coming quarter. However, when the stock falls tomorrow on that disappointing guidance, you should buy it. Apple is priced like a company in financial distress. It's not. It's still growing. This iPhone upgrade cycle has another couple of great quarters left in it.
In the short term, Mark, if it blows away numbers, does it have a chance to then turn around what appears to be a sell-off today?
I think it does, because they're a bellwether for the rest of the market, and people look to Apple for leadership in the technology sector and for the market overall. So if they have a good earnings report, I think it's going to a tide that lifts all boats.
Jim, doesn't this all make IBM look, dare I say it, yesterday, and does it make Warren Buffett, who's probably buying today, he's probably buying IBM stock today because he does that it may be one of his rare losers in the future? It just doesn't seem to be able to pull itself, extricate itself from the problems that it's had.
Well, you're right. And I think, this is what happens with, we're tech investors. That's what I spend my time doing, sort of riding the innovation curve. Mm-hmm. And what happens a lot of times with these companies, they get to a point where it's really difficult to innovate. They're so big and their employee base grows. And I think it was just mentioned, the focus gets diluted. Mm-hmm. And that becomes a big problem for some of these companies. And I agree with the comment, by the way. The iPhone is really where, that's what I have my eye on. I think these other things are interesting, but it's really the iPhone for Apple.
Can I spin it forward? Because again, Apple Pay, Jack, at what point will analysts start to get a little impatient and say, I want to see revenues from that?
Oh, boy, I think that over the next couple of quarters, I'll tell you when it happens, 3 quarters from now. And the reason is because keep in mind, the huge upgrade cycle we had for the iPhone, it's because of the bigger screens. There are still people out there who haven't come off their contracts yet. When they come off, they're going to want the bigger screens. Everybody wants the bigger screens. That's all that matters for the next couple of quarters. After that, Apple needs its next trick. It's
Guys,
the iPay watches something.
who can take on Apple, whether it's in the smartphone world?
Can I jump in there, Liz?
Yeah, sure, Jim.
So mobile payments, is one of my favorite topics and categories. And so, Apple, there's an example where there are a lot of innovators in there. There are some big players, not the least of which is PayPal, and there are a number of startups behind them. I wouldn't necessarily cede the mobile payments industry to Apple by any stretch.
Yeah, okay, but Mark,
one of the things about
hardware.
where things are going, I think if you're looking like mid to long term, Facebook and Oculus with virtual reality and the big players that are in that space, because that's the next big leap for digital entertainment, and Apple doesn't yet have anything to show in that category.
A rare slice of green today from Facebook. It is moving higher by, just a fraction of a percent, but it's great to have all of you. Jim Moran, Northbridge General Partner, Mark Spoonauer, Tom's Guide and Laptop Magazine Editor-in-Chief, and Jack Hough, Barron Senior Editor.